Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's 20-minute benefits buzz, the Outlier in Virtual Care. I'm pleased to introduce you to Bryce Breen of First Stop Health. Bryce, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Great. Thank you, Emily, for getting us kicked off today. I just want to say what a pleasure it is to be on a benefits buzz today and talk to you about First Stop Health being an outlier in virtual care. And for those of you who I don't know, my name is Bryce Breen. I'm a vice president of sales here at First Stop Health. And for just a brief bit of background, I've spent the last 20 plus years having the privilege of helping companies evaluate win-win solutions. Now, what do I mean by that? Solutions that not only benefit their company, but their employees as well. The last 14 of those years have specifically been in the health and well-being space, and I joined First Stop Health last year. So I was thinking about you who are attending this, and I thought, what can I do to make this a little bit more exciting for them? So I've sprinkled within the presentation a number of thought-provoking questions. So to get us started with that, I asked a colleague recently, I said, what is this? And she responded, well, it's a cell phone. So then I showed her this picture and I said, well, what is this? And she said, well, that's a cell phone too. So they're both cell phones, but here's my question to you. Are they the same? Now, to answer that, you might feel like you need a little bit more information. So the one on the left is a Motorola flip phone, circa early 1990s. All these did was make calls. You were charged for each individual call, and they were really expensive. So these phones were rarely used. Now, the one on the right, you probably recognize as an Apple iPhone, and it's not just a phone. As you know, it can be your GPS, your camera, your address book, your compass, you name it. You know the rest of that story. But comparatively speaking, these phones are used all the time. Now, why would I take the time to go through that with you? Because there's a really important takeaway that's going to guide our conversation today. And that is, just because things are in the same category does not mean that they are in fact the same. So more specific to today's benefits buzz topic, not all virtual care solutions are the same. Sure, they might be in the same category, but we know that they can be quite different. So before we go into that, it's customary that on our Benefits Buzz webinars, we take a little bit of time to tell you about our company and our offerings. Now, we've done this in great detail and some other benefits buzzes, so I'm just going to keep this high level today. Regarding First Stop Health, we were around and we were founded in 2011. Today, we have over 1,100 clients, and we offer 3 flavors of virtual healthcare solutions. So we're going to start in the middle of the page with virtual urgent care that you might recognize as telemedicine. And this is for those time-sensitive, non-emergency situations, right? Maybe it's when you have allergies or a sore throat, maybe an earache or pink eye. All of those can be served by urgent care. What I can tell you is that we know that of the patients that come to our virtual urgent care, 87% of those visits are cost diverting. Now, how do we know that? Quite frankly, we asked them. We said, if you didn't come to First Stop Health today, what would you have done? And what they typically have told us is that they would have walked into an emergency room, a doctor's office, or a brick and mortar urgent care clinic, which are all higher cost settings. So those are all examples of needing episodic care. But what about when an individual wants to develop an ongoing relationship with the same doctor? That's what virtual primary care for, and that's over on the left. And I will tell you that we know that 50% of our members who had used virtual primary care had not seen a doctor in over a year, which is a troubling statistic to say the least. You'll see that little orange box on the bottom left. And that's just to note that we've got new enhancements coming to virtual primary care as of August 1st, where we're going to offer coaching as well as case management and on-site biometrics. Now, those two offerings are on the physical care side, but we know that to have complete care, it's really the merger of physical well-being and mental well-being, which is why I'm so happy to tell you that we do also offer virtual mental health. Today, our virtual mental health solution offers short-term counseling, which can address things like stress or grief, anxiety, or depression. But as of 1/1 of next year, we're not only going to have short-term counseling, we'll also offer long-term counseling. And not just for the individual, it can include family counseling sessions when that's appropriate as well. What I would say, just to make a small plug here, is if you have not heard about in detail our enhancements, I'd really encourage you to reach out and learn more there. Okay, so now that you have the background on our company and our offerings, let's get back to the topic du jour, which is that First Stop Health is an outlier in virtual care. Now, there are numerous factors that we could cover that talk about what makes us unique. But today, just to keep it simple and for the sake of time, I'm just going to focus on 3 of them. And that is that First Stop Health is used, it's loved, and it's guaranteed. And those are so important that I'd ask that maybe you even write those down, right? First Stop Health is used, it's loved, and it's guaranteed. And I'm going to back those up with more detail for you. Okay, so here's my next question for you. Do you remember this? Do you remember what it was and what the promise of it was? This was Google Glass. And in 2012, Time Magazine said that this was one of the best inventions of the year. This product would allow a user to take pictures. It would tell you the name of somebody and where you knew them from. It would do real-time translations if someone was speaking in front of you in a different language. It would even offer augmented reality. But with all this going for, it failed twice, in fact. First, the consumer model, then more recently, the enterprise version. How could something with so much technology and so much promise fail? Well, quite frankly, it was really simple. There was a lack of adoption. It just wasn't used. The key takeaway here is that nothing demonstrates value more than interest and demand. And that ties right into our first differentiator that I told you about, First Stop Health being used. Not only are we used, we're used a lot. So what you're looking at is average utilization rates for our standalone offerings. So starting on the right side, our virtual mental health offering has almost 30% average utilization. Urgent care is at 45%. And virtual primary care is over 70%. Now, when you look at across our book of business, because our clients have a mix of these offerings, we have an average utilization of 60%, which is well above the industry average. Now, when we talk about utilization, I think it's really important for me to cover 2 other things on this. And the first is migration. All of our clients had other virtual care solutions before coming to us. So why did they come to us? Because the others were underperforming. So they had to look for alternatives, and that's why they are now First Stop Health clients. But number 2, and this one I just feel very passionately about, is that this word utilization so radically diminishes the significance of this topic. Well, why is that? Because when we talk about utilization, it's really not just about the numbers. We're talking about people. And when there is low utilization, we've got people who are going without care, and things are getting missed, and problems are developing. And in healthcare, if it's serious, problems don't just magically disappear, they get worse. So here's a thought that I would like for you to thoughtfully consider. If you aren't getting utilization, You quite simply aren't serving your population. And this is so important that I want to take this one step further and share a story with you about one of our members named Claudia. Now, Claudia saw our communications, which is kind of our secret sauce and how we drive such high engagement. And that prompted her to establish a relationship with one of our doctors. She had a 27-minute consult with a doctor, and a mammogram was suggested. She had the mammogram, and very sadly, a lump was found. So an ultrasound was conducted, which was followed by a biopsy. And Claudia found out that she actually had breast cancer. And to be more specific, she had stage 0 ductal carcinoma in situ. But I'm very happy to tell you that after her treatments, Claudia has now been cancer-free for over a year. Now, why do I share that story? It's because it shows just how much utilization matters. If we didn't drive high utilization, if we didn't engage Claudia, this would have been missed. But instead, it was caught early, which made all of the difference for Claudia. So all of those are ways that we can support for you just how much First Stop Health is used and why that's such an important barometer when you're considering different virtual care solutions. Okay, next question for you. So what do these companies have in common? Patagonia, Trader Joe's, John Deere, and Costco. Any ideas? Well, look, candidly, I know there could be a lot of different answers to this question, but the one that I'm looking for today is that these companies are loved. How do we know that? Because these are some of America's favorite brands. And one of these actually dates back to 1837, which wildly impresses me. So this brings us to First Stop Health's second differentiator, is that we are also loved. And I know that's a bold claim, so I'm going to share a bunch of information with you so that you can decide if you think that's valid or not. It's hard to talk about a company being loved without talking about a net promoter score, an NPS, right? So the industry average in healthcare is plus 38. It's quite honestly really low, because to be considered best class, you have to have an NPS score of plus 80. First Stop Health has an NPS score with our clients of plus 88, which is well above the industry average. Now, to go beyond numbers, I will tell you that our clients tell us that First Stop Health is the benefit that they are most often thanked for. Think about how much time and effort and energy and money goes into offering new benefits. Wouldn't it be nice to actually be thanked for it? Well, I'm going to tell you a story. I was in a meeting last month, and in the middle of the meeting, the client stopped everything. And she said, I just want to tell you that First Stop Health saved our employee's life. And she went through the rest of the story. And that's not the first time I've heard this. And what I can tell you is, in examples like that, it is an understatement to say that First Stop Health is loved. Okay, now remember when I shared with you that we have 1,100 clients? What I didn't share with you is that we have a 95% retention rate by account and a 99% retention rate by dollar. Another way of saying that First Stop Health is truly loved. Now, if you've been to our website or seen any of our collateral, you would see that we say First Stop Health offers care that people love. But what I want you to know is that this is not just a marketing slogan or some tagline. This comes straight out of our member satisfaction surveys, because the one word that is most commonly repeated in those surveys is love. So looking at all of those factors, I think that you can see how we stand on a pretty sturdy foundation by saying that First Stop Health is loved. Okay, this is going to be our last question for you. Who said this? If you want a guarantee, buy a toaster. Any ideas? Does that ring a bell for anybody? Well, it was Clint Eastwood in the movie called The Rookie. Now, I don't know. This quote might be better than the movie. I'll let you be the judge of that. But I have some really good news for you, which is that if you want a guarantee, you actually have some other options. And that, of course, brings us to the third differentiator, which is that First Stop Health, it's guaranteed. I want to share another story with you. I was at a Marcus Evans event earlier this year, and I was engaged in a conversation with an HR executive. And I was enjoying the conversation so much that I wanted to learn a little bit more from her. And I said, in your eyes, what does a good benefits partner look like? And what she said to me, she said, well, it's a company that stands behind its offering. And I was curious, so I pulled on that thread a little bit. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And she said, well, if they didn't deliver on the promise, they'd make it right. What I'm really happy to tell you is that's exactly what First Stop Health does. So let me break this down for you. When it comes to virtual urgent care, do you remember what our average utilization rate was? It's 45%. That's why we feel so comfortable offering a 25% utilization guarantee. And let's look at the fine print here. For every 1% that we are below 25% utilization, we're going to credit 1.5% of that annual spend back. And that's for our fully insured groups. For the self-insured clients that we have using virtual urgent care, we offer a 25% ROI guarantee. And what that looks like is for every dollar spent, we guarantee $1.25 in hard dollar savings, or we're going to refund or credit back the difference. Wouldn't it be great if that's the way the world always worked, right? That when you expected to save something, you did, or you'd be given money back? That's what we do here at First Stop Health. Now, when it comes to virtual primary care, do you remember what our average utilization rate is? It's over 70%, which is why we feel so comfortable having a guarantee of 30% utilization or higher. And you can see there the fine print on that one. But there's a much bigger picture here. And what I want you to understand is that if we ever had the privilege of engaging with you and serving your clients or your employees, the bigger picture is that First Stop Health was designed to deliver on the promise of virtual healthcare. More specifically, we want to make sure that employees are getting the care that they need and that employers are seeing the results they've always desired. So let's just summarize now. We started this conversation by talking about the fact that things could be in the same category, but it doesn't mean they are necessarily the same. And then we spoke about how in the virtual care space, First Stop Health is unique in three ways. First off, it's used. And I shared how our average utilization is 60% across our book of business. Number two, I shared with you that First Stop Health is loved, right? Bold claim. I gave you 4 different examples of why that's the case. But just to summarize, we have an NPS score with our clients of plus 88 versus the healthcare industry average of plus 38. And lastly, we believe so much in what we're doing that we guarantee it. And we just went through what we do to guarantee our client success. So when you take all of those reasons combined, that's why First Stop Health is the outlier in virtual care. And what I'd say is, if you'd like to learn more, I'd encourage you to reach out to us. Just maybe not on one of these phones. So that's all I have for you today. Let me turn it over to Emily, who will wrap us up.
Bryce, thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation, and thank you to everybody for joining us today. We hope to see you at our upcoming buzzes, and in the meantime, take care.